So the Democrats unveiled their better deal proposals, and it's pretty much a mixed bag. So this is Vox reporting on it. Betting it's the message voters will want to hear ahead of the 2018 midterm elections, Democrats are releasing a suite of these proposals collectively called a better deal on Monday. They say the better deal, an obvious allusion to Teddy Roosevelt's Square Deal and Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal, is necessary to crack down on monopolies and the concentration of economic power against a government that benefits the special interests and the very wealthy. Interesting. The plan is a populist turn for the party less than a year after it ran and lost to Donald Trump on a platform that largely defended the economic status quo under President Barack Obama. The Better Deal's first step is a plan to create 10 million jobs through a mixture of tax credits for employers who hire at high wages and a national infrastructure program similar to the one Hillary Clinton proposed in the presidential campaign. The second main plank released on Monday is a sweeping suite of plans aimed at curtailing the skyrocketing costs of American prescription drugs, including a new regulatory agency and broad new oversight powers. Over the past few years, press reports have increasingly highlighted a handful of pharmaceutical companies that exponentially jack up the prices of drugs that consumers have no choice but to buy. The third plank is a list of antitrust proposals in line with what Senator Elizabeth Warren has called for the party to adopt. Facing rising corporate inequality and markets increasingly dominated by a tiny handful of firms, Democrats will propose a new federal office and federal guidelines that would aim to make it more difficult for companies to merge and make it easier for federal regulators to call attention to their anti-competitive behavior. Okay. So let's break this down. First, we'll go to the Elizabeth Warren-inspired proposals, which is the last one that I just went through with you. The idea to basically bring back enforcing antitrust laws. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's unquestionably a good thing, and that is a giant step in the right direction. Now, from a messaging standpoint, here's the problem with that. It doesn't resonate, even though that actually is a populist idea and a left idea. It doesn't resonate, and it's not pithy and soundbitey enough to really, catch on in a way where middle America goes, yeah, man, we got to reinforce those antitrust laws now, don't we? No, people will be like, trust? Anti-what? Anti-freeze? What are we talking about here? I don't even know. What do you mean? So in terms of the policy of that, it's good. And again, they say it's Elizabeth Warren inspired, which, Elizabeth Warren was the one who came up with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which has been just absolutely incredible and a gigantic step in the right direction. It's the best part of Dodd-Frank by far and away. So good on the policy, bad on the messaging part of it. And that's a little concerning because when you talk about, hey, what messaging are we going to do? I mean, the actual message should be important. Policy is obviously the most important thing, but how you push that policy, sell that policy, talk about that policy, it should be in alignment with how good the policy actually is. And it doesn't seem to me like this is very witty or pithy, and it doesn't really cut through so that people get like, oh, okay, so it looks like they're fighting for me on this one. On the pharmaceutical drugs one, okay, that's good too. So they're saying one of the main things they're going to push for is we want Medicare to be able to negotiate with drug companies for better prices. So this is Bernie Sanders inspired, and it's something that the party should have been doing all along. But remember, Barack Obama stabbed everybody in the back and continued the same deal that George W. Bush made, which said that Medicare is legally not allowed to negotiate with the pharmaceutical companies for better prices. So think about that. We pay way more for our prescription drugs than any other modern nation. So Bernie Sanders came along and said, well, let's import our drugs from Canada and pay less as a result. And many Democrats abandoned him and said, no, we're not going to do that. So now the Democratic Party is saying, okay, now we're getting serious and we're putting it as one of our main things that we're going to push for. Okay, so that's a good thing. Then they get to infrastructure. Well, the infrastructure plan they came up with, they just basically copied and pasted Hillary Clinton's. And when you go through the details of Hillary Clinton's, it's $275 billion worth of infrastructure spending. Guys, the Society of Civil Engineers, the people who do the grading, the ranking of our system every few years, of our infrastructure system, first of all, we get a D+, so we're falling apart at the seams. We're crumbling all over the place. But second of all, they say we need a multi-trillion-dollar investment if we really want to get serious. And do I want to get serious about this? Oh, absolutely. I want the United States to actually have the number one infrastructure in the world. I want updated airports, updated roads, updated bridges, high-speed rail. I want everything to look beautiful. So for them to say $275 billion worth of infrastructure spending, I mean, I guess you get credit for the thought that you actually give a shit about infrastructure, but I think even the Republicans are proposing more than that. Now, let's be clear. The Republicans, their idea of proposing about $1 trillion worth of infrastructure spending, or thereabouts, it's mostly a ruse to privatize the infrastructure and literally hand it over to Goldman Sachs. So their plan is worse, no doubt about it, but the dollar amount that we're talking about here is terrible. What are you thinking? What are you saying? So there, you could have done a lot better on the infrastructure portion of it. So here's the part that drives me a little bit crazy. So they're saying, oh, better deal, and they're alluding to the Square deal and the New Deal. And they say, well, it's necessary to, quote, crack down on monopolies and the concentration of economic power against a government that benefits the special interests and the very wealthy. So they say that. But here's the thing. You're not actually doing anything to address that part. Like, you have some decent things. Okay, antitrust, reinforcing the antitrust laws. The Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders inspired proposals, so the one about prescription drugs. Good. I'm going to give you credit for that because credit where credit is due, and it's deserved there. But when you say, oh, the problem is that there's a government that benefits the special interests in the very wealthy. Why? Why did that happen? How did that happen? Do you have an answer? You're accurately describing the problem. Now, what the Democrats usually do is they say that and then they kind of try to pawn it off all to the Republicans. Like, oh, yeah, it's the Republicans' fault. They're the ones who benefit the special interests in the very well. No. That's a bipartisan problem. They might be worse. They might be even more corrupt, but you're corrupt too. So how do we get to the point where we have a government that benefits the special interests and the very wealthy? The answer is the colossal amount of money in our politics. The answer is that money equals free speech according to the Supreme Court. And where in your list of proposals, your better deal proposals, does it address that? You don't address that, not even a little bit. There's nothing there about that. There's nothing about campaign finance reform. There's nothing about getting money out of the political system. And then whenever you push these guys, they give you the Hillary Clinton answer, which is really a dodge. And they'll say, well, no, we agree with you on that. We need to get dark, unaccountable money out of politics. Why did you add the words dark and unaccountable? Because what they want to do is, let's just increase transparency. So let's let you know which corporations and billionaires are buying your politicians, but don't actually do anything about it. Don't actually stop that from happening. So the Democrats are not going to be serious, and you can't take them seriously until they address the fundamental flaw at the heart of our system, which is the corrupting influence of money in politics. Because as long as they keep taking corporate money, as long as they keep taking PAC money and lobbyist money, billionaire money, they're not going to seriously address any of the issues that they're paying lip service to here. They might do a few decent things, throw a bone here and there, but they're not going to ever seriously address the fundamental flaws within our system. So, and you might say, well, Kyle, come on. They're not going to be able to get that through Republican Congress and yada, 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 yada. Well, first of all, I'm unimpressed by people who say, I can't try to do the right thing because it's hard. That doesn't mean anything. But also, even if that's true, they wouldn't be able to get it done anyway. Well, then at least take the pledge, the Justice Democrats pledge. We take no corporate money and no PAC money. At least say, all right, here's how we're going to do our fundraising from here on out. We're going to raise in small dollar amounts from regular people. Because that's the way, within the current disgusting system, that's the only way to guarantee you're going to have principled politicians. There's no other way to guarantee that. That's the only way you're going to guarantee you have principled politicians. People who raise money, politicians who raise money from the people, so they're beholden to the people, and they do what the people want. Now, again, that's not the end-all be-all. The end-all be-all is getting money out of the system and getting a public financing system set up. That's the end-all be-all, to get basically private money out of politics, corporate money, all that out of politics. But in the meantime, the only way to make sure that politicians are not corrupt is to have politicians do the Justice Democrats model, raise it from the people. Now, the downside of that is, of course, we're at an institutional disadvantage. We're at a permanent disadvantage. Because, like, Joe Manchin is raising money out the wazoo, even though he's massively unpopular. How does that happen? He just goes to special interests. He goes to corporations, he goes to PACs, he goes to lobbyists, he goes to billionaires. Hey, I need help. I'm running for re-election. And he gets in a handful of checks. He gets more than we can raise from all these people giving, $27 at a time, to use Bernie's number. So that's a problem. But you know what? We got to suck it up and deal with it because we refuse. Corruption is not an option. That's not on the table for us. We must have principled politicians, or else what's the point? So, and that's why we've been relying on you guys. JusticeDemocrats.com/fight. If you want to donate to Paula Jean Swearingen and other Justice Democrats who are trying to take back the Democratic Party and make it what it should have been all along. And that leads me to my final point about this. Better deal. Notice something. They didn't mention Medicare for all. They didn't mention it. Why didn't you mention it? What's going on here? What's going on? You didn't mention it? Oh, and also, as part of their, I believe it was part of their infrastructure portion of this, it's a lot of it is tax credits. So they're using a Republican idea, and they're bold new, we're going to do tax credits, everybody. Oh, no. What are you doing? What are you doing? But it's stuff like that. They're still leaning. They still have that clear streak of corporatism and centrism and neoliberalism in them that's ruining them. So they don't say anything about Medicare for all. They don't say anything about free college. They don't say anything about ending the wars and using that money to reinvest in our infrastructure. So I'm just explaining to them as a matter of fact, you're not going to get people excited. You don't just get to, let's enforce our antitrust laws. Yeah. You don't get to go out there and say some shit like that and expect people to fall over themselves to go run to the voting booth to try to get you in there. You want to talk about a real bold message? Medicare for all. Free college. And you don't see that. That's one of those things where you don't need a messaging strategy. To come up with antitrust laws or reinforce them, yes, that's a good thing. But you also would need to message that properly to explain to people what it is, because they don't know. People know what Medicare for all is. People know what free college is. And those things are overwhelmingly popular. So you go out there and say, Medicare for all, free college. People go, oh, shit, I want to vote for that. Damn right I want to vote for that. Legalizing marijuana. What if you they might say like, oh, come on, that's one of those issues. What are you going to do? You're going to put that in your platform? You're going to put that in your new strategy? Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. You got over 60% of Americans now want to legalize it. It's not just like a side issue. If you say we're going to end the drug war and legalize marijuana, right there you're saying we're going to save trillions of dollars. We've already spent $1 trillion fucking dollars on the drug war and we got nothing to show for it. People have died as a result of the drug war. How many lives have been ruined as a result of the drug war? You got people locked up for non-violent drug offenses. What, are you kidding me? Imagine the Democrats went out there, they said, we're going to end the drug war, we're going to free every non-violent drug offender, and we're going to legalize marijuana. Imagine they said that. They'd think, like, in their minds, they're like, please, we need to be respectable. Here in Washington, we're distinguished and honorable gentlemen. That saying an issue like that is below us. Guys, it's overwhelmingly popular. You're increasing freedom and liberty. And not to mention the gigantic amount of tax revenue and boost to the economy because you're opening up a multi-billion-dollar industry overnight. We've seen the numbers. It's amazing what's happening in Colorado right now. So they say bold. This isn't bold. You're inching in the right direction, but you're not addressing the fundamental core problem, which is money in politics. And you're not hitting, perhaps, the two top Democratic issues. You know, you say, oh, millennials, they don't go out to vote for us. What the hell's going on here? Well, maybe if you propose Medicare for all and free college, they'd fucking vote for you. And maybe they do it with a goddamn smile on their face because you're actually addressing issues that matter to them. So now, to be fair to them, I think as part of either this portion or the next portion of the rollouts that they're doing of their bold economic agenda, they are going to do a living wage proposal. They are going to do a $15 minimum wage proposal. That's good, and we'll give them credit for that. But you gotta, come on, man. There's certain ones that are non-negotiable that they still aren't on board with. Medicare for all, free college being two of them. So, and they have, of course, they haven't mentioned ending the wars. They're still kind of for many of them. So they're trying, they're inching in the right direction, but you got to address the core problem. You have to take the Justice Democrats pledge, and you have to hit the most important issues: free college, Medicare for all, and the wars, and other issues. There are many more, but I want to say meet the old boss, same as the old. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss, but we got to be fair, and we'll say meet the new boss slightly better than the old boss, but not good enough. I'm reminding myself of Bernie now in the debate. Not good enough. Not good enough. The finger thing that always gets me. But anyway, there you have it. If you want real Democrats with backbone who can prove that we are not corrupt, justicedemocrats.com. We take no corporate money, no PAC money. Read our platform. Every candidate stands for everything in those platforms. In that platform, I should say. justicedemocrats.com/fight. Let's go win this thing, and let's make sure that every Democrat represents a populist left vision.